copy, and we've seen our summary of responses. And now we want to go to the Enter Data sheet. And this sheet is green. It's right here. And this is sort of, this is a really important sheet. Don't be turned off by the pink here. So what we've got is a sheet that I'm going to zoom out so you can sort of see the whole structure here. You've got a row here that says the title, pink, which are instructions and examples, and the green, which is data that you're going to input as a response organizer. And this is a sheet that the information you put in these columns, these green columns, is going to drive the functions in the rest of these sheets here. So for example, a type of data you might put in is a list of the reception centers for this disaster, okay? So here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looking in column K here, different reception centers in the disaster-affected area. Similarly, I could have a list of the rally points in the sending unit jurisdictions. So here we've got personal vehicle as one, and then we have 4 other ones that are locations where volunteers will meet. And then next to them, I have the addresses and contact information for that particular rally point or reception center. You can see how that's going to drive some functions in the rest of the tool. Similarly, a lot of these columns drive drop-down menus. So I'll just show you an example here. I'm going to go over to the Make Assignments tab, which is right next to Enter Data. And you'll see that there's many cells where a drop-down menu appears. Well, that drop-down menu is being fed by a list which is one of these columns. So the very first one we want to fill out here is this one in column B. Let me zoom in here. And this is the questionnaire response data source. So basically, it's asking you to input the sheet name that contains all the raw data. So an example would be form responses 2. In our case, it's this one. It's form responses 15. So let's go into this green cell, which is where we actually type in the answer, and let's put in exactly form responses 15. So now the tool knows to look in the cell that has that name, or in the sheet that has that name for all the raw data. All right, great. The next one is columns that contain specific data. So this is a list of, in the gray here, you'll see certain descriptions. So responder first name, responder last name, responder unit. And it's asking you in the green next to it to put the letter of a column that contains that particular data. And this is in the raw data sheet. So for example, responder first name in our raw data looks like it falls in column C. So now we can tell the tool if to look for, when it wants first name, to look in column C. Similarly, zip code or address, where's that going to be? Well, let's see here. It looks like if we scroll over, address is appearing in column O. And so we can make sure that this says column O. Now, it's important to realize why we're doing this, because when you design your survey, you may switch questions around. You may not include certain questions that are in the template. Yet the spreadsheet needs to know where this information is, and it may be in a different column. And so it's important to know for your particular sheet here, which column is that data in. And you can see other things in here: responder cell phone number, responder date available, the beginning date, responder date available, the end date. For mapping people, there's a whole feature in here which allows you to map where people are located, and each of those little dots that appear on a map must have a name. So maybe you might want to have that be the last name of the person or their email address. Anyway, you pick a column and it goes in here. Similarly, you might want to categorize those individuals who are mapped. Maybe you want to make them color-coded by their qualification or by their unit name. And so you pick a column with one of those attributes that you can categorize the people in the map. The primary column for the responder's skills. Are they physician, nurse, non-medical? All that information is going to be in one column. So for example, in ours, it's going to be in column R. And we can see here nurse, nurse practitioner, physician, EMT basic, no or non-medical. So, and responder email address and the number of days the responder is available for, so the deployment duration. So those are important. The other things to put in the enter data sheets, this is unit roster. So there's a function of the tool that allows you to verify each name of the person who completed the questionnaire. So let's say you sent this out to your unit and you expect that most of the people who complete the questionnaire will be from your unit, but who knows who may have gotten a hold of the survey. Somebody may have forwarded an email, and you may have people fill out this survey that are not actually verified members of your organization. Well, if you do have a roster of the people who are members of your organization, you can put them here. And so there's a column for first name, last name, the unit, so your particular agency name, and the person's zip code. And so you can see all this data we have here. This column goes down for quite a while. I've got many volunteers in my unit. And let's say there's multiple units that are involved. They just paste theirs below. So what's created is a long running list of people who are considered verified in this system or as part of their unit.
Neil, we have a question.
Sure.
Just as we're putting in all this data, how are we saving that data on the sheet? Do we have to go to File, Save, or is it automatically saved, or how are we saving that data?
So the nice thing about Google, it's a good question, is that all of the data, any change you make, any letter you type is automatically saved the instant it's done. So you can still go back with these back arrows or forward to redo or undo, but once I type something in here, let's say I type the word web right here, it's now saved, and everybody who's viewing this spreadsheet can see what I've typed. All right.
Neil, is there a way, so say that, if I'm pasting all of my volunteer information in there with all the names, what if someone comes in and, pastes over mine? Can I track that? How that happened, or do I just have to monitor that, occasionally to see, something's going wrong?
You'd have to monitor that. Hopefully you have all of the users trained, people who would be using this tool, to not do that. But, if one way you would notice that is all of a sudden volunteers that you know are in your system are showing up as not verified, then you'd know something was wrong and you could go back here.
Where we would come back to figure that out, really to figure out any issues, right? Because this is the key spreadsheet.
Yeah, this enter data sheet is the key. And let me just show you what this looks like when a volunteer is verified. So if I go into the Make Assignments tab here, what I see is a list of the individuals who filled out the survey here. This is just that same list of people, their first name, their last name, their unit. These are cities that have volunteer units. And the next column is name and zip match with unit roster, question mark. And the tool looks through all of the people that filled out the survey and the zip code that they entered and checks it with that list that you entered here in the enter data sheet and sees if there's a match. And if there is, it turns green and says match found, and if it's not, it turns red and says no match. And then you're able to go through and say, in this column, select volunteer status, whether they've been accepted, denied, or are pending for this particular deployment. Now, if you click accepted, the cell will turn green. If you click pending, it will turn orange, and it actually turns the entire row orange, you can see here, so that anybody using a spreadsheet at any point in time, left or right, will see orange. And if you click denied, it will turn red all the way across. I don't know if, so here we have somebody who's denied, Hey Holla from Allentown. The match was not found, and they've been denied for this deployment. This column in between says license verified, and that's to just point out that this tool does not have the capability to verify medical licenses in and of itself. But as you're going through and maybe you choose to verify licenses before you send someone out, you can click not applicable, license confirmed, there's an issue with the license, or the license is expired. And again, these are drop-down lists you can edit. So let's say you want to add a different option to this list. Well, you'd go into the enter data sheet, you'd find out where that list is coming from, and in this case, that particular list is at the very end, I think. Nope, actually, it's right here, license verified, and right now those are the options, but I could also go in here and type in license is fake. All right, and then I could go here and I would see that Now, license is fake is an option I can put here. Not that we would want to do that, but just so you can see how that works for the drop-down lists. Okay, finishing up here, we've got, this is the entered data list. As I'm scrolling these different categories, so departures list is an important one. This is a list of all of the dates and times and locations that a departure is occurring. So again, we're thinking about transporting volunteers from one area to another. Well, from Southeast Pennsylvania on October 14th at 7 a.m., we're going to be transporting a certain number of people. And we're not saying how many buses there may be, or vehicles, but just number of people, total capacity. So in this case, we have a two-person departure. From the Lehigh Valley on the same day at the same time, we have 75 people leaving. All right, and these are departures that we will assign volunteers to as they are going through the assignment process. And again, you can add one at the bottom. So let's say we want to add one from the Lehigh Valley. We click on this cell and a little calendar appears. So we'll have October the 8th, military time leaving at 0800, and we know that we're going to have capacity, or at least we're asking for capacity for 150 people. All right. Now, from this list of departures, this next column, desired number of responders by day, is generated. And so here we have every day that a particular departures are occurring, and we have a list in green where you enter how many people you want deploying total on that given day. And we can just see here that the 8th of October just appeared. So let's say our desired number of responders on that day is 40, and similarly on this one it's 30. And again, those are total number of responders, and those come in later. So this next one, search terms for responder charts, is referring to graphs here, where you can see in this blue sheet at the bottom, graphs that tell you how many responders of a certain type are deploying on a given day. So if I zoom in here, you can see assigned responders by departure date and type. So here we have all the dates that buses or vehicles are leaving, and how many nurses or doctors or non-medical people have been assigned to leave from their home at a rally point on a departure on that particular day. And so we can see that there are 6 non-medical people assigned already to leave on the 14th of October. Just likewise 1 doctor and 4 nurses. Also, there's a graph here that says responders assigned compared to need. And this is the total number of responders on that day who are leaving or departing. And this red line is the a graph of that number that you just input saying the total number needed. And so you can sort of see where you are in that in meeting your need. So going back here, again, these numbers here in the desired number of responders are what's generating that red line. Now this chart, the assigned responders by departure date and type, is very changeable. So let's say you don't want to look at nurses, doctors, and non-medical. You want to look at people who can place IVs. You want to look at people who speak French, and you want to look at licensed social workers. Well, you can change that in the enter data. So you find search terms for responder charts. All right, and in this column you have some boxes you need to fill in. So skill category 1, skill category 2, and skill category 3. In this one, it's the title of the skill. So in this case, it's nurses, doctors, and non-medical. And these 3 form the labels in the key here. So nurses, doctors, non-medical. But recognize how this works. Essentially, what's happening is the tool is searching within a particular column of the Make Assignments sheet. So in the Make Assignments sheet, let's just talk briefly about assignments. So you have, this is a sheet that you might be working in, and you might be assigning responders to leave from particular places on particular days. And I'll get into the mechanics of that in a minute, but it's going to search for who has been assigned and then it's going to track what their qualifications are. And it's going to look in, we have it over here, it's displayed the qualification of each individual. And so you're looking for a particular term. Let's say you're looking for the word nurse because you want to include nurses and nurse practitioners. Well, in that case, in here, your search word for nurses should be nurse. But you can see how this word might be different than this word. So this might be French speaking, and your search term would be French, for example. All right, any questions about the graphs, the charts? All right, well, let's go.